Good morning, everyone. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about a subscriber question I got the other day, which I thought was pretty interesting. So this person reached out by email, no less, and asked me, kind of talked to me about some of the thoughts that I have and mentioned something that I found very interesting. Now, this person has been working in JavaScript, and specifically JavaScript and jQuery at his I think it's a he, his company for over 10 years. What's interesting though is that this person explained to me that he has absolutely, all this stuff about Node, all this stuff about React and Angular and Vue and these frameworks is completely new to him. Because the company that he works for, well, there's not really much of a space for that sort of technology. Now, we didn't really talk about what specifically it was, but this story is a story that I've heard being told quite a few times. And it's an interesting thing. So let's get into it. You see, the thing is, this guy who was telling me that he was a little bit, he had a few worries. Let's just call it that. Because the company had laid off some people, it's been doing that for quite a while, and he kind of felt that he may, in a very, not that distant future, be in a situation where he's going to have to look for another job. Now, that made him a little bit nervous because all the job postings these days for people who do JavaScript is oriented for the most part about, around React, Angular, all these frameworks were, right? Because that is where the trend is right now. Very, very, very few companies use jQuery as their primary platform for doing JavaScript development. Now, jQuery isn't bad, it's just that this is the lay of the land. This is how things are working right now, for good or for better or for worse, if you will. And this is what I've been telling you guys. This is a person who has been working for quite some time and has now realized, without noticing it, that he has lost his market value. Not all of the market value, because 10 years of development experience is quite a long time, but he has lost a big portion of it at least. Because 10 years ago, jQuery was the thing. It was the hippest, trendiest, biggest thing in JavaScript development. It is no longer the case. Today, it's a completely new ecosystem, and for the most part, that sort of experience is going to be relevant, but it's not going to be as high value as somebody who has a similar level of experience and has primarily worked in the modern frameworks. Now, this happens to people, and this is exactly what I mean when I say that you have to retain your market value. So he kind of asked what he can do and how he can kind of have to mitigate this problem. And the way that I see it, guys, is kind of, first and foremost, let's touch on the thing you should do before you get to this point. The first thing you need to think about when it comes to having a job, guys, is that if you want, and this is such an easy mistake to make, I'm sorry to say, do not make the mental mistake of thinking that just because one company may be offering you a job, and in theory, I don't even know if this company is paying especially well, but just because a company has offered you a job, that is the job that you should take, that is the best thing for you long term. Because the company has certain needs. In this scenario, for this person, this company needs jQuery because the platform they have has standardized on that. But if they start migrating away from that, or if they outsource their development needs to more modern companies or consultancies, or there's all kinds of things that could happen that could make them, simply not need you as a developer anymore. And if you have invested heavily in this company and the tech stack that they have, because they run their business in a certain way, and you have completely forgotten about yourself, or rather your own personal development and staying relevant in the marketplace, that's going to come, potentially that can come back and bite you. Some languages have this problem to a greater extent, which is JavaScript, of course, and some don't have it as much, which is languages that are a little bit more slow moving, like Java, for example. So that's why you always need to ask yourself, if you are, like, am I developing? I do this on a yearly basis, guys. Every single year, I ask myself, what have I learned? Like, what have I learned as a direct result of working at my current place of work? If I feel that the place I have been working at has developed me and increased my market value, increased my knowledge, or my happiness, or whatever, it has given me clear benefits to be working here, then I will stay. If I don't feel that, I will move on. Because, guys, you may not think so, but it's very unlikely that you will spend the rest of your life at the same company. And you don't want to be in a position where you basically have crippled your own career opportunities, maybe a little bit, just because you got a little bit comfortable. So remember that you have to not only consider having a job, but you also have to consider, is the place you are working at the sort of place that is going to long-term benefit you, not just short-term. And then we have to remember one more thing. It is on you as a developer, because unfortunately you are a craftsman in an ever-changing ecosystem, to understand and to know and to inform yourself about what everybody else is using. If this person has kind of been in the situation where it's news to this individual that React is, for example, super popular and jQuery is no longer relevant and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying that you have to spend your entire life, learning about every single tool out there, but it is a very good investment to at least have even if you don't work with a piece of technology, subscribe to the newsletters, get a feel for what people are talking about. You need to know what's happening out there in the ecosystem. If you don't, you might find yourself in this specific situation where everybody has moved on from the thing that you're using and you have no idea what it is everybody's talking about. And that's not a great situation to be in if you're going to look for a job. But let's go to solutions. Now, let's be honest here, first and foremost. If you have 10 years of development experience as a JavaScript developer, even if it is in just vanilla JavaScript or jQuery, that's going to weigh very, very heavy with some companies. That sort of seniority is pretty good. Like, the individual will not have an issue finding a new job, because you can learn React, you can learn Angular, you can learn Vue and all that stuff. If you have that level of experience, you can. This is another one that I kind of have touched on a few times. Because this individual knows like the actual vanilla JavaScript style of working and jQuery and all that stuff, picking up the new these new frameworks shouldn't be much of a hassle, because he understands the underlying mechanism. It would have been a really tricky situation if, let's say that everybody moves over to, I don't know, Polymer, and you only know React, and you have no idea how JavaScript works under the hood. That would have been a very unpleasant situation. But hopefully the solution to this problem is, or for this individuals, is going to be, I hope it's going to be fairly obvious that the thing to do here is to start looking into these tools. Not because, necessarily that you have to, but because it's very good for you to keep an eye on what other companies are using. Because if you want to stay relevant in the marketplace, you have to be able to work in the environment that the companies have created around themselves. And this is unfortunate, but you can't be too picky. You can't just pick whatever you want to work with, guys. As a professional software developer, you will be very good at certain things, and you may specialize in things. In this case, it's jQuery, but you're still going to have to learn new things. You're going to have to learn technologies that you may not be that interested in. You're going to have to be able to effectively work in a range of tools and technologies, and that's everyday life, guys. This is the thing about software development. This is why it's tricky to keep up with it, because the ecosystem of tooling available to you is massive, and you don't have to be an expert in every single one, but you're going to have to be the sort of person who can just pick these technologies up and learn them. And that's exactly what this individual has to do. So what I want you to take away from this is that, first and foremost, when you are working, if you are systematically destroying your own market value because the company you are working for requires you to work in very unrelevant technologies, you have to either keep your own relevancy or your market value by studying in your spare time or keeping track of what everybody else is doing and so forth. And you should maybe consider, depending on your situation, to switch jobs. I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep a job that's good, just think about it. And finally, if you find yourself in a situation where, oh shit, I have all this experience but nobody's asking for this experience anymore in the marketplace, then your only real option is to educate yourself. That's where boot camps come in. It's actually one I can tell you right now, these numbers are showing that the number one reason why these boot camps are popular is because I think it was 60% roughly statistically of the people who go to these boot camps for JavaScript and so forth are simply these sorts of professionals who've been working in a certain way for a very long time and now needs to complement their education in order to stay relevant in the marketplace. So that's basically it. Have a great day.